On episode 2 of the Room 701 podcast, we talk to Principal Cristy Libatique.
All right, so let's get going with this thing. All right, so everybody, this is episode number 2 of the Room 701 podcast, and I'm lucky enough today to sit down with Mrs. Cristy Libatique, who's taken tons of time out of your day to just have a conversation. So how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Cool. Why don't you just introduce yourself?
I'm Cristy Libatique, principal at THS in Monroe.
So how long have you been in the TUSD system?
This is year 10.
Okay.
Year 10 for me.
Okay. As a principal or as principal and VP?
Principal and VP, 5 years VP. Just finished my 5th year principal.
Okay. How do you like it?
It's an adventure. Every day is an adventure. I loved being a VP. Being a principal is a little more challenging than I thought it was going to be.
Why? Just is the scope's bigger?
The scope's bigger. Literally everything is your responsibility. When I was a VP, I had this narrow track of, as a teacher, you're responsible for what happens in your classroom.
Yeah.
And as a principal, you're also responsible for your classroom, but your classroom is the entire school and every single thing that happens in it. And so there's a lot of stuff I don't know a lot about facilities, and now that's under my wing. I don't know why air conditioning doesn't work. And now that's, so there are just a lot of things that, you really have to grow yourself.
Right.
And it was in areas that are not instructional, and then I didn't realize that was going to be such a huge part of it.
So is more of the admin job, would you say it's more not dealing with teachers and students and more dealing with just kind of the day-to-day of running of almost like a business?
I would say it's less dealing with students and more dealing with adults. Everything that has to do with the adults is ultimately also my responsibility. So making sure that every single person is doing their job all the time. And when you have 140 staff members, that's a lot of moving
Is that how
parts.
many we have?
Yeah.
Wow. Is that so? That's teachers and support staff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How many teachers? Or is it
50?
Okay.
It depends. I mean, not everybody's full time.
Right.
We share with JMS, but around 56.
Okay. And how many students do we usually have?
Between THS and Monroe, a little over 1,200.
Okay.
So as the year goes, THS shrinks because Monroe grows.
Right. But they're still on campus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So for those of you watching, Monroe is our continuation school. That actually is right next door.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so the students who are having difficulties or issues or they need, would it be credit recovery as well? It's all of that. Go over to Monroe to get the help they need with Mrs. Cabaner.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. So what got you into wanting to be in admin? Because I know you're a classroom teacher for quite a while.
Mm-hmm. For 18 years.
Yeah.
So honestly, I didn't have any intention of being an administrator. When we left LA, and we were moving to Tehachapi, I kind of was looking at the jobs and everything was an administrator. So I went to my principal at the time and said, do you think this is something I could do? And she was like, yeah, you'd be great at that. I was like, and so I looked at the options, and one of the options, since I already have my master's degree, was to take a test. So that's what I did.
Oh, okay.
And, lucky enough, I passed the test, but I ended up getting a job as an EL coordinator in Bakersfield, which I really loved. That is my passion, is English learners,
Mm-hmm.
English language development. And so, but the commute just started to kill me. After 9 years, I was like, I'm done with this. I can't. The 58's been under construction for 850 years, and I just can't do this anymore.
You commuted down there for 9 years?
I commuted from Stallion to Lakeside, which is out near Taft Highway, right?
Okay.
Old River and Yeah.
So on the other side of Bakersfield then?
Yes, for 9 years.
Wow.
And then because I was a district person, so between the two schools. And I just thought, I don't want to do this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
What else can I do? And even though I loved my job, but the commute was just draining. And then I saw the posting for the VP here and actually called my best friend and I was like, hey, what do you think of this? This feels like all the things that I like to do, right? The whole time I was at Lakeside, I was their administrative designee.
Okay.
So often, if the principals weren't there, it's a small school district. So very similar to here, you go to the district office, nobody's on campus. And so I did all of that. And I really, I don't know, it sounds weird to say you enjoy discipline, but just talking to kids one-on-one in a different level that's not instructional. Anyway, so I looked at the job description and I thought, I think I really want to do this job. And, the stars aligned and,
right.
But when Scott Hyman called me, my kids were little and they were in the back seat and I hung the phone up and I was like, ah, and everybody's screaming, and just from the moment I got here, I felt like I was home.
Cool.
So,
well, I can tell you that I have really enjoyed having you, not only as a VP, but also as a principal.
Thank you.
So it's been a lot of fun. And I know that you and I talk pretty much all the time with each other about just all kinds of stuff that happens both on campus and outside of campus and just, life in general and stuff. And it's been very fun to kind of be with you, I guess, on your trip as being an administrator.
10 years.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. Yeah, because I got my admin credential in 17, I think.
Mm.
And that's when you were still a VP.
Right.
Because Scott was my mentor or whatever.
He was mine too.
Yeah. Okay.
He was a good mentor.
He's a great guy.
Mm-hmm.
He is a good guy. And I remember on basically what you just said, what he said, and then what my friend down in San Diego, who was my master teacher, also became admin. All of you guys have said the same thing about being administrators. You lose that kind of as a classroom teacher, your world is very small. You can make it really small and you can make it just about showing up and doing your class and then leaving and not get involved at all. But when you're a principal, man, when people think THS, they think you. They don't think me. They don't think other teachers. They think you. And that has to be a lot of pressure.
I think it's probably a little more pressure in a small town too. Because we only have one high school, right? If you're out, in Bakersfield with your 25 high schools or however many I don't know how many they have, but they have a lot.
Yeah.
I don't, when you think of Kurt High, you don't think of 5 specific people, right? And so I think that there is a little more pressure in that sense that everything here is interconnected, right? Even if it doesn't happen at school, it always comes back to school, because the kids that you're seeing at the grocery store, the kids that you're going to see at high school.
I went to Walmart yesterday to buy something and it was just hey, it's crazy.
Yeah.
In a small town like ours. So with that in mind, how do you direct your teachers? How do you direct us to create a good version of THS? How do you want us as teachers to make this the place that you want to be? Because when I got here, when you first got here, the high school was kind of the only gig in town, and now it's not really. Now there's so many other options. So how do we get students to want to invest back in the high school experience, and same with parents and teachers and stuff?
Yeah. And I think a lot of it has to do with parents, right? I think kids aren't, we start at 7:25. Nobody wants to start that early.
Yeah.
Half of the adults don't want to start that early. Right?
Yeah, I don't want
but what ultimately, when you look back at high school, right? Do you remember, I don't remember what time I started high school. It was early, right?
I do, because I played water polo. So we were in the pool at 5 a.m. So I had to be on the pool deck at about 4:30 to stretch and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
But
I mean, you remember the experiences, right? You remember water polo. You don't remember, like, math problem number 7 on page 217. So I think just creating that, and I think that we do a good job of that. I think that if you haven't been anywhere else, you don't always know how much we have to offer. But, looking back at graduation, because we just did.
Yeah, we just had it.
And so my sister, her kids went to a big school in the Bay Area, right? And then my sister-in-law, her kids went to a very small school in Palmdale, right? But neither one of them offered what we offer. So I think, remembering that, like, yes, we do have a small town, but we offer a lot of things for the size of school that we are, I mean, we have 8 CTE pathways, which is a big offering for this size of school, right?
So CTE is career
technical education.
Technical education, right? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, a number of advanced placement courses that we have, and the concurrent enrollment, the sports that we have. Like, yes, we can't offer everything. We don't have the bodies to do it, but for the size of school, I think that we offer a lot.
Right. Yeah. I always wish that we were like right around 1,500. I think for some reason in my head, like student body wise, 1,500 seems to be in my head like a magic number, because then we could offer some classes that we just don't have the numbers for. We could hire some teachers to offer other classes, so that would be the ideal number. But like you're 100%.
You could come out at lunchtime.
Yeah. but you're 100% right. It's fun to talk to the foreign exchange students, who come from Europe or from Japan, wherever, and they come to this high school, and they're kind of, I think everyone I've ever talked to is blown away by what we do here, with our rallies and then football. And I mean, I'm partial to baseball, but but we have so many opportunities for students and parents to get involved in like the campus life here at THS.
Yeah. And I don't remember parents going to anything when I was in high school. Right?
Yeah. Same here.
Our rallies, there's a bug here.
There's a fly.
Yeah, I mean, we had pep rallies when I was in high school. I don't remember a single parent coming. And we were a neighborhood school, right? Like, you could walk. We didn't, because it's LA, you don't walk. But
nobody walks in LA. Yeah.
But I don't remember one single parent ever being there. And that could just be my memory, because that's not what I was focused on. I know my parents weren't there. But I think that because we have that tradition too, like a lot of students, parents went here, and, so we're able to build that and foster it. And I think that's good. So
when you're hiring a new teacher, is that something you specifically ask them? Is like, how can they be an asset to the school outside of the classroom? Like, how would you get involved in?
No, because the way that hiring is, the questions are like pre-scripted. Every single interview, it's the same questions.
Is that for equity? So, or okay.
If I could ask, I would. I mean, I think that it's important to go beyond the walls of your classroom, like whatever that looks like, right? Maybe it looks like tutoring. Maybe it looks like, being the voice of the Warriors.
Yeah.
Maybe it looks like being the ASB director, but somehow, to go beyond these walls, and, hey, you're walking around at lunch, like, what are kids doing, or opening up your room, whatever it might be.
So as an administrator, how do you keep in contact with the students? Like, to keep your kind of like your head to the ground and what's going on?
So for me, I started when I was a VP, like just being at the gate, right? Like greeting students first thing when they come in. And when I was a VP, I was like the only one who did that. Now it's a routine. We all have a gate. And then like Mr. Stirk brought up, well, nobody's greeting staff. Like, okay, well, so we closed the gate so that we had somebody available. to do that. Our campus is a little unique because not everybody comes in this entrance. But, you know, one of us is at this gate, one of us is at that gate, one of us is out, you know, around to try to greet everyone. We're always out at lunch, you know, just seeing what's going on as much as possible. We try to get into the classrooms. Like once testing happens, it gets a little crazier because, you know, we're trying to manage testing, but just, you know, and when we come in, I mean, that's usually what I'm doing. Like, oh, what are you working on? What's, you know, touching base. Yeah.
And you're not in for like a super long amount of time. You just, you're coming in, reading the room, seeing what's going on, talking to the students. And as a teacher, it's nice to see you coming down, you guys doing that, because I'll see you, I'll see Mrs. Hoffman, you know, Mrs. Lewis will come in, and you guys kind of, do you rotate on purpose, or is it just when there's time you get up and move around?
Yeah, so we plan to schedule to the extent that we can get to it. It doesn't always work, but that was really important. We started that after COVID, right? During COVID, we were doing those pop-ins, and it was just Mrs. Lowe and I, and we were like, there was a point, I actually took like a picture because I was on my phone. I had my desktop, I had my Surface, and I had my cell phone, so I could be in like 3 different classrooms because of the time constraints, right? But, you know, when we came back, it's like, well, it's really important that we know what's going on, right? People don't always follow the chain of command. So oftentimes, right, people will jump ship like right to you, and then, you know, to have context of like, no, that's not what happens in this room. That's, you know, turns out everybody has a story and might not always be accurate. So, you know, but I think it's important that we know what's going on, and it helps for us all to be on this same page. Right. And, you know, we're all a team working together.
Right. And I love that. I really feel like over the last few years, you've made an effort to really start to kind of build that culture up with the staff, you know, because I think you believe, and you can tell me if I'm totally wrong with this, but if you build a culture with the staff, that kind of bleeds down to the students. Absolutely. You know, and I mean, one thing that you guys came up with was, you know, the traveling tea. And the traveling tea is an award that teachers give to other staff members, basically for just whatever reason that they deem, you know, reason. There he is right there, you know, but we didn't have that before, you know.
Yeah. And then this year we have a second one for classified. So we started doing a monthly classified meeting, and then they also have one. Theirs is a little different. And then they sign theirs, so that, which I do like, because then, you know who gave it, because it's kind of hard to remember like through the trajectory of like, who had it. But yeah, we just little things, you know. I know at like the smaller schools they do a lot of like giveaways and things like that. We don't have that PTO base, and I certainly don't have that funding.
You just don't have money coming like out of the walls, like, oh, what am I going to do with this, right?
Turns out, as a single parent, it is not the most lucrative lifestyle.
So you mentioned COVID, and I'm curious about this. How did COVID change your role as a principal? Because I know how it changed my role as a teacher, but what did it do with you guys up there?
Well, it was really, I mean, it was crazy. I think we can all admit that. When we first, like the first year, we were just trying to figure it out, right? Like the last quarter, what are we going to do? Getting Canvas up and running. When we went, you know, in 2020, actually started the year, I was teaching English 11, algebra, and principaling. And that was like a little wild. And I mean, like, English is my subject, right? So I was pretty comfortable with that. Algebra, I was like, please, somebody come and save me.
What are you doing? Like, you're looking it up before the students come in, you know, you're like, how do we do this?
No, what I've learned from my parenting is you just read it multiple times, and then somebody in the room will get it and help you out. But I was teaching. Yeah, I had like 2 Zooms going because they were in the same period, and we didn't have a teacher.
Wow.
So, and then when we didn't have a teacher, like I would have to go in and sub. So I subbed so many, like music, which also I have no business doing. With my great tune carrying ability, and I don't know, just a lot of different things. But I also felt like, I mean, it was crazy at the time, but it really helped me like to understand Canvas, to understand what teachers were going through. So that's why like we try to get that. What is the word that we use for it? Like when the kids didn't have to like log in to Zoom on Wednesday, right?
Okay.
Like, just to give some, because it was so taxing.
Yeah.
And even though the school day was shorter, it felt like
longer.
You know, I mean, I would start the day with like 275 emails.
Wow.
And, you know, and I had my kids at home too.
Mm-hmm.
So like I always talk about parenting by Alexa, because then we had to come, like the administrators had to come back, but the students couldn't come back. And so I was here, my kids were home.
Mm-hmm.
So I had like 8,000 reminders, right? Like first period will start in 5 minutes. It's time to log in to, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But you know, all of those protocols, and like I'm a temperature taking champ right now. And but to like go from that to where we are now, it feels like we're, I don't know. To me, this school year felt really good.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question is, do you feel that we've kind of pulled out of that nosedive that was COVID and we're gaining altitude?
I think we're gaining altitude. I mean, the kids that just graduated were freshmen during COVID.
Yeah.
So I would say I think we have a couple of years of still trying to make up some of that.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of, at least the credit recovery part of that, you know, should be a little bit better. I mean, some students didn't get any credits during COVID, and that's a huge, I mean, 60 credits is a huge deficit.
Yeah, it's massive. Wow, okay. So with COVID being gone now, right, with us getting back to cruising altitude, where do you see THS going in the future? Like, what's your cast? Like, where, like I don't know, the 2-year plan, the 5-year plan, you know, where do you see us going?
Next year, right, we're going to start implementing Avid. And I think that, you know, that's something that many of us have wanted behind the scenes for a long time. So I think that's a really good push for us. And, you know, I mean, that's going to take time to roll out, right? It starts as like one course next year and it'll grow. But I think that'll be a really good place for us. I think, you know, we are looking at students that are missing key components from whatever grade they were in during, you know, 2020, 2021. So there's going to be key pieces of information that we're missing when you're doing like a 60% school year.
Right.
So, you know, I think Avid is a good gap filler for that.
Definitely.
In terms of like information gap. I think really just getting back into the swing of things of, you know, we're going to change some things, right? Times have changed, kids have changed. But I think that we're trying to adapt as we see, okay, you know, this didn't work like this before. Like this year having senior sunset separate, right? That's new for us, but it was fun for me. I'm closer to senior citizen than senior. But like I thought it was really nice to just have them have their own time and not have another activity like bleeding into it. You know. So I think just making little tweaks as we see fit.
Yeah, as a senior teacher, I really liked how the end of the year panned out with the seniors going, you know, on their senior trip that last week. Worked really well. I thought it was good. Like the way it panned out, having the senior trip to, what was it, Six Flags on Friday was awesome, because then they have the weekend to recover from being awake the whole entire, and the teachers. You know, so I thought that was really cool, and moving forward like that.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, what would you like to see from teachers? How would you like to see the teachers here start to buy into that, like especially Avid? Because that's how I got my role in education. Was I was an Avid tutor, and that's how I kind of got into it.
So I mean, I think that's it. It's the buy-in, right? So like common note-taking strategies, right? Like this is what we're all going to do, right? Like it might look a little bit different. Obviously, you're going to take different notes in history than you are in math, but what can we do to set kids up in a more common way so that classes are not so vastly different in setup, right? Like obviously subject and teacher personality is going to play a huge part in that, but I think that's important. I would love to see, I know people roll their eyes at me when I say it, but school spirit, right? Like we wear green, black, and white on Fridays. Like it's not a hard thing to do, but with the student feedback from school site council is like, we really like it when the teachers dress up, when it's a dress up day, right? And it's such an easy thing to do. Yeah. Thursdays, like college and career day, right? And I mean, for me personally, I love it because I like to be casual. So that's like 2 days. Sorry, that's my 2 days that I don't have to think about what to wear.
Right. I totally agree. Like doing the baseball, I had some shirts made. And so I know when we have a home baseball game, I know what my outfit is for the day.
Yeah.
And it's one less thing, to stress about. And going back to what you're saying about the teachers with our department, you've really pushed us to start to kind of take, the different world history, the different U.S. history teachers, and have us have like a common pacing guide, have common assessments, have common benchmarks. And I'm sure you've been doing that with all I know English across the way is really, really good with that.
Yeah. All of the core departments, have been working on that this year, at least if they haven't already. It's harder in the if you're the only teacher, like Mr. G, right? Nobody else is teaching graphic design. Right. Where are you going to bank off of? But, and I think it's important for equity too, so that, how can we have students, like they have to have a schedule change and then they go in and this teacher's 6 chapters ahead. Doesn't really set them up for success.
So basically in the next few years, we want to see more student success, more buy-in, not only by the students, but by staff as well. We already produce really high quality students. I personally think, I have the benefit of teaching seniors, and this senior class was pretty stellar with like where a lot of these seniors are going and their academic achievements.
Yeah. And it's ironic. Having a kid in there, I know they have been like that class forever. And so to see how accomplished they are, like at senior awards night and everything, it's like,
it was amazing. Like how many of them were standing up and coming down to get different awards and like group awards, like big awards and stuff like that is really, really, it was awesome to see.
Yeah. And at graduation, just like seeing all the
bling.
The swag.
Yeah. The swag. Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So I meant it when I said it at graduation. Like they certainly have the potential to go out there and do, all the things that they want to do. So I'm excited to see where they go.
Very cool. Are you excited for next year?
I am. I'm a little sad, to be honest, because it's going to be my first year without my boy.
Yeah.
But I'll have one here. But it's I am excited. I feel like we're keeping a lot of the same team, and so that's helpful to have that consistency. I think we were in a good group this year, and we can kind of pick that up. We asked for feedback from students and parents and staff. What we got, like we work off of. Right. So there's some things that we're going to look at that. There's some things, I have a meeting with the superintendent next week that I'm going to bring to her, like, hey, this is what, our staff is asking. Yeah.
Go fight for us.
You don't know if you don't ask.
Yeah, exactly, right? Or the answer is always no
Mm-hmm.
if you don't ask.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Well, I mean, I can tell you from just being in the classroom that this year did feel like a return.
Mm-hmm.
Like it did. Last year, I loved the students last year too. They
Mhm.
were a great group. And I felt like last year, the ship kind of like was starting to tack
Mm-hmm.
a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this year we're definitely on a course
Mhm.
now and we have a point that we want to go
Mhm.
to. So I'm really excited to see what happens.
And then next year's class will have had the full high school experience.
Exactly.
So
And that's so key
mhm.
because they know what expectations are. They know the expectations that they're going to have for the for the
Mhm.
eighth graders who are now coming in and they can start
Yeah.
to build on that. I also love the shift and the pivot to Avid.
Mhm.
I really do. I think that is going to be a game changer,
Mhm.
especially for teachers who've never worked at a school that's had an Avid type program, how big of a difference it can make,
Mhm.
not only for the school, obviously, but for that select group of kids
Mhm.
who kind of are selected for the Avid program,
Right.
like that core group.
Mhm.
I mean, it's life changing
Mhm.
for those kids.
Absolutely.
So I think that's fantastic that you
Mhm.
guys are bringing that. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, me too.
Do you have a phone?
Mhm.
Can you grab it really quick? Because my phone, we're recording with my phone, so we got to do the 60-second scramble here.
Oh, you need a timer.
Yeah, I need a timer. Is there anything else you'd like to add or
I feel like I've
talk
talked
about?
so much.
All right, tell me when you're ready to go. So, Chav made it through quite a few of these. So
Okay.
the whole entire point, if I can get my words out right, of the 60-second scramble is I'm just going to ask you questions, and you're going to respond to them with no explanation.
All right.
And we're going to see how many we can get through. All
Okay.
right. Okay. So here we go. Tell me when you're ready to go.
Ready.
All right. Go. What is your favorite color?
Green.
Favorite subject in high school?
English.
What is your favorite movie?
Wildcats.
If I say peanut butter, you say
Jelly.
favorite music?
Rap.
Favorite band?
ABBA.
First concert you've been to?
ABBA.
Okay. Favorite video game?
Don't.
Don't know video games. Tomato or tomato?
Tomato.
All right. Marvel or DC?
Don't care.
Favorite amusement park?
Disneyland.
East Coast or West Coast?
West Coast.
Favorite state?
California.
Favorite sports team?
Angels.
Ice cream. Favorite ice cream flavor?
Mint chip.
In-N-Out or Chick-fil-A?
In-N-Out.
Favorite holiday?
Christmas.
If you won $1 million right now, what would you do?
Pay off all my debt. Send my
Nice.
kid to college.
Ever been starstruck?
Yes.
Who's your favorite celebrity?
Well, now
Is it
I don't
the
know.
same
But
person?
Ricky Schroeder when I was a kid.
Ricky Schroeder. Dog or cat person?
Dog.
Favorite food?
Carne asada fries.
Nice. Favorite season?
Fall.
Nice job. Nice job.
Did I
Right
get
on.
further than job. That's what's important.
I think you did.
Okay.
I think you did. I haven't necessarily been keeping track like number wise, but I
feel
think
like you should.
I
This is
probably-
a competition.
I should. I should have like a little list right here, huh? And I put them up there, kind of like.
Like episode 2, and then draw your line
And
right
then-
there. Like I
So
just
where
saw-
do we go? Favorite season, right?
Yeah.
There we go.
Beat that, Chop.
So I'll have to go back and watch his and see how far we got. Well, thank you so much for your
How
time.
far did Caitlin get?
She got. I think she got truck or car.
Oh, too far than me.
Yeah. I think because the one I've really been wanting to ask is, can you speak with an Irish accent?
No.
Okay. And then the other one that I thought would be a lot of fun would be like, what do you wish you were?
A little bit taller.
You wish you were a baller? Awesome.
Wrap it in a hat. 6'4" and poly.
Hey, rap, favorite genre, right? Well, again, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I'm looking forward to next year.
Me too.
All right, right on. Cool.